Good morning and welcome to Virtual HorrorCon 2021. We are Darker Days Radio. I'm Chris and I'm joined by David. And we're doing some painting of miniatures, something quite different for Virtual HorrorCon because we like miniatures. No surprise there. Obviously, if you're watching this, please donate to Virtual HorrorCon's Tiltify. You can find the link in our in the stream chat. So that's proceeds going towards Black Girls Code and the Blind Cat Rescue and Sanctuary. Obviously, stay tuned. There are loads more stuff on all of the channels on Kahana Gaming, on Karen Comfort Studios, and on Darker Days Radio. In hour and a half's time, I'll be chatting to Andy Chambers, who is a renowned game designer who
Not yet.
worked and developed on Warhammer 40,000, lead developer on Necromunda, Powerful Gothic, Starship
Got it from
Troopers,
me.
Drop Fleet Commander, Blood Red Skies, Judge Dredd, and he worked for Blizzard doing as lead storyteller on StarCraft. But yeah, that's the plugging for now. You can also tune in later for our Wrath and Glory game, which I will be running, and that's at 2 p.m. UK time. I don't even know what I'm on Eastern Standard Time right now. It's like 9, I think.
5 hours
That'll be
different.
9. Right. Okay. Let's get started then. So I am painting a amble. So what I've done so far is I primed in black. I then dusted them a good grey to do some pre-shading. I've then also gone over the flexible skin area with a dry brush of what the hell did I dry brush it with? Grey Seer followed by Corax White because Corax White is not a pure white. So I'm going to hit this with the classic Ethermatic Blue because it's a contrast paint and it does all our hard work for us.
Are you going fully contrast then today?
Yeah, because I'm lazy. I've got some regular stuff here. But I mean, the point is, the way I paint is pretty much like this anyway, most generally, where you'll do a base coat of some form, do some shading, and then do some highlighting. If you're going to be doing dry brushing, I think the contrast paints work really well because, and also using washes or turning things into kind of a wash because you've already got that shading with dry brushing done, and it will just pull it all together. So let's do that. You'll notice that I've also got here a wet palette. That's going to be quite useful for when I deal with my other paints. Wet palettes are brilliant things for keeping your paints moist, ready to use, so they don't dry out. Yeah, obviously, unlike most paints, contrast paints you can just use straight out of the pot because you'll rarely be mixing them.
Destroying everything. Sorry.
So what are you working on, David?
Oh, I've not yet decided. I've got so much on my desk at the moment. I've just finished. I jump between projects and do lots of random stuff. I have no kind of structure in the way that I paint, but I was painting. I don't know if this is going to come up very well on the camera, but I was painting this bust. I do a lot of bust painting because I enjoy the large scale and getting that real detail behind it. Then I've just been painting, started some of the Gobberpalooza from Age of Sigma. Going proper old school on this, got proper Bad Moon vibe going. It's not coming up very well on that camera, so we'll put it up here. If that can see any better, I don't know, because I'm looking at the wrong camera.
Looking at the wrong camera. You want to bring it into the other shot. There. Oh, we can see that there. There we go. That's cool.
Yeah, so it's got like Skarsnik kind of vibes going on.
Oh, yeah. Classic
down
Skarsnik.
here as well, but
Speaking of Age of Sigma, obviously you can get from Cubicle 7 right now the brand new Champions of Order book, which is an expansion book for Soulbound, which has the Lumineth Realm Lords in it, plus brand new archetypes for all other factions, and also like you get new kind of mini talents depending upon if you choose like a city or like regional faction. So you could be humans, but like Free Guild of like Anvilgard, for example, or other stuff.
really good.
And they've introduced my favourite, which Elaine was teasing us about when you did that the one shot, is the K-Night Shadow Stalker.
I
They're beastly. They can use
need to get a copy of this. I've not got a
they
copy.
can use their cloak as a shadow, so that they can then jump from that shadow to any other shadow because they've got a talent that does shadow teleportation. Like,
Unlike,
what the
I
hell is
think
that?
you managed to do something like that by combining things together, didn't you?
Yeah, we use
But
some magic from realm from the wind of
all good. Yeah,
Ulgu. Yeah,
shadow.
yeah. So
I'm
yeah,
gonna stick with
that's
Dark.
pretty much it. I'm gonna hold on. I just need to change something on my screen here because I'm using up RAM and bandwidth by watching us paint on the Twitch. When all I need to do is see that stream, see
Yeah, on
the chat. There we
Twitch,
go.
I can keep an eye on that. So
Yeah. Um. So yeah, that's basically yeah. So that's Champions Order. Also, they've just pushed an update to do some of the errata on Forsaken Systems Guide, which is basically the same type of book for sorry, let me get that in shot. There we go. Wrath and Glory. So that introduces some new archetypes for certain factions, like Space
Fruit.
Marines and stuff, and yeah, Kroot
I
and
am looking
Ogren
for.
and Ratlin and factions you can join in the system. So that's dead fun. Yeah, so that's good. Obviously, if you missed other stuff that we were doing last night, I was on a panel for community content, and Crystal was playing Bluebeard's Bride.
Yeah, yeah, that was really cool. I caught some of that, so I was kind of flipping between the channels last night. I caught some of your content. Was watched a bit of the Monster Hearts game and watched a bit of the Bluebeards game. Bluebeard seems interesting, shall we say?
I don't know too much about it, but it'll be fun to explore. I'm sure Crystal could run us through it at some point.
Yeah, it was. It's a very different kind of game. So I only caught bits of it, so I can't really say too much about it. But it's certainly dark. What I saw. Um, but yeah, so this is the first bit of the weekend that I'm on. As I've got some other stuff happening. What are we doing? I'm playing in Urban Shadows Second Edition later.
Okay,
I think on Darker Days Twitch.
right.
That looks really cool. Kind of urban dark fantasy. You've got vampires, werewolves, fae, and humans and wizards kind of all competing over a city and the politics
Right.
within that, rather than kind of the actual fighting stuff. So it's more political based by the look of it. And then tomorrow I'm on a panel with Ian from Gurner Gaming, Tom Murr from somewhere, forgotten where he's from, and Mark from the Folklore podcast, where we're talking about folklore and kind of
Excellent.
how we can actually bring folklore into the game. So this is not folk horror. So there is a difference between folklore and folk horror, and we'll go through that in the
Yeah. Folklore's actual folklore. Folk horror is like a cinema term.
yeah, it's made folk horror is kind of more modern stories made up to scare people, but with a kind of folky vibe, whereas folklore is where it all kind of stems from. So
And of course, one of the players in the Wrath and Glory game is Howard Ingham, who is a previously has written for Onyx Path on and White Wolf on what is now Chronicles of Darkness, and Howard brought out a book a while ago about folk horror called They Don't Go Back. I believe that's the right one. He'll correct me anyway. Howard will correct me on that one. I need to get my pronouns correct as well with everyone. So yeah, Howard will correct me on that one. So that's a book about folk horror in cinema. And then Howard has also just had released here, just released the follow up to that. Their follow up book is on cults in cinema. So
Oh, cool.
the representation of cults in film and media. Um, and that's out on Amazon right now. So you can always go along and pick them up. Howard's
Or
work
your
is
local bookstore.
awesome. Howard also has an RPG which is again folk horror inspired called Shivering Circle, and I believe that Howard also did some work on the upcoming horror RPG Solemn Veil, which is again folk horror inspired. Okay, so as you can see, all I've been doing is just liberally, let's bring him into focus,
Slapping paint.
applying ethematic blue on there. It's a bit hard to see in this light, but it's this light blue, um, and it goes into all the grooves and gives immediate shading, and that's nice and easy. So next up, I think, well, that's just obviously going to take a little bit of time to dry. I'm going to
Drying
apply some
times.
paint to the carapace. I'm going to use Cantor Blue, which is a lovely deep blue with a purplish tone to it.
Yeah, do this. If you want to dry quickly, there's a
Yeah, I'm
one.
not going to kill everyone with that. Yeah. So yeah, what's anyone else doing who's on the stream? Anyone else painting any miniatures this morning, or they're looking forward to any particular game? Or which panel did they catch up on? Because I basically did my panel and then was getting ready for this and then went to bed. So
Yeah. Obviously, we're the English crowd keeping up the morning.
yes, we are. Oh, that's good. Cantal blue is such a nice color.
Yeah, so kind of what Chris was talking about earlier with the painting, where he kind of that's my coffee. I don't want to put my paintbrush in my coffee.
Classic.
Yeah, almost caught on live there. So how Chris was saying with he dusted his model with a grey. There's something similar we can do called zenithal highlighting, which is what I did. So here's the example. You kind of get an airbrush, use white ink and spray from the top. So you kind of get your pre-shading. So underneath it's all dark, on the top it's light. So what I've been doing with this model just now, I did that and I then washed it black to try and get some more deeper recesses. But now I'm painting this smoky bit across the top and I'm just kind of bringing out the top bits. So it's still very, very dark underneath. And I'm just picking out the top bits to create a bright point. And then I'll pick some color, probably athematic blue actually. It's on my desk as well. So
I mean,
yeah, not a nice kind of smoky weirdness.
Yeah, zenith of highlighting makes life easy if you've got a airbrush available to do it. You can do it with spray cans. I generally go for a black followed by a grey followed by a white just to really do it get all my hard work out of the way.
I'm just a sucker for punishment and like doing things slowly, so I'm not the quick. Some models are quick, some models are not. I managed to paint an entire my Ossiarch Bone Reapers army. I think I managed to paint that in about a week. It's 1,000 points, probably about 40 models, and it was contrast. So zenithal highlight, dry brush. So a grey zenithal highlight, dry brushed white, and then just contrast. And then because I use it on everything, Agrax Earthshade wash to dirty everything down.
Yeah. This is the first miniature I've painted in months because I've just been writing or doing other stuff and it's been a mess obviously in my house because I had my bathroom redone, so everything was like put away because I just didn't have the time or the inclination with how busy it is. So it's nice to be back.
Have you ever set up painting space now, or?
I do have upstairs where I do all the podcasting from here, but I like to sit downstairs and paint just so I can watch movies with my partner.
Yeah, that's one thing that has really kind of helped me with my painting is actually being able to have a painting setup. So you can see through the camera. This is a permanent setup, and behind the other camera, there's like, I don't know, an absolute mess, but there's also about another 100 odd paints. I collect paints.
Let's think. What else is going on? Obviously, we'll in 2 weeks' time be continuing
Wrath and Glory? Not Wrath and Glory. No.
Warhammer Fantasy.
The game that I'm running, I should know that.
That's the Enemy Within campaign.
Yep.
And there's some cool products coming out for that in the near future. There's some new stuff out already for Warhammer, but also there's things like notable people of the Reichland. I think it's something like that. It's effectively that kind of book. Again, just like nice little NPCs you can drop into your game of Warhammer. And then the other significant piece is the next part of the Enemy Within campaign, which is the Horned Rat, which I believe replaces something rotten in Kislev when they did the original series. So that's going to be really interesting to see the despicable rat men featured heavily.
Spoiler alert. It's got Skaven in it.
It's got Skaven. They don't exist. But they do exist. Yeah, Skaven are fun. So that's cool. And there's a few more scenarios out for Soulbound as well, aren't there?
Yeah, they've got they've announced something which looks like it's got like ships in it and stuff. So sky ships.
Oh yeah.
Really cool.
So that's neat. What else miniatures wise? I mean, the one thing I've not been collecting as much. I sold off most of my miniatures, because I painted them ages ago. I wasn't really quite so happy with it. You see how that's looking there? We've got lots of blue happening. Is War Machine Hordes, which technically I like the rule system, but my miniatures are like from years ago, so I'm not. I was, I kind of got fed up with what they look like, and I couldn't be bothered to do a repaint. That's got like a new edition of their RPG setting coming out, Iron Kingdoms. That's in
based on 5th ed, isn't it?
For D&D 5th ed. Not my particular flavour I enjoy of games. I will always say I am not a D&D fan.
We've had this discussion a lot, haven't we?
But it did get me to pull out my Iron Kingdoms RPG 2nd edition books and have a look. And I'm just we need to run this again because it's just fun.
Do the Immortality.
Yeah, we'll do the Immortality campaign, I think, which is fun. I'm interested in where they're going with stuff because like they're updating and carrying on Alexis Cianor's plotline. So she's famous for basically being the main antagonist in the Witchfire trilogy, which is really what put the Iron Kingdom setting on the map for RPGs. Quite a renowned one back in the days of D20. Definitely like one of the best products at that time, really. Because it wasn't really a dungeon crawl. And when you convert it over to Iron Kingdoms RPG, the 2nd edition, you have to kind of undo some of the D&D isms. And I say D&D isms, I mean like, why is this hidden box magically sealed and trapped? Like, are you trying to put hurdles in front of your players all the time? It's like, I just don't understand that level of everything must have a challenge for every character just for the purpose of so everyone can get their XP. But anyway, it's still a good campaign if you use it for as the basis for the 2nd edition. And most of the creatures in that game got redone into the 2nd edition. I'd also be really interested in like playing a game where everyone's just playing Scorn. Because I've got the
I would
book
love to do that. Yeah, I've got that book somewhere.
Scorn are just weird. They're like kind of like Dark Elves, but not.
More vicious.
Yeah.
Dark Elf beast handlers, but on drugs. My camera's making noises. Don't fall off. I've got like the most professional setup here you've ever seen. I've literally taped my phone to a box, and it keeps threatening to fall off.
So yeah, obviously the Amble's a really cool creature. I would love to do some stats for it in Wrath and Glory. You can use it as an antagonist, as a monster in Necromunda. It has rules there. It has rules in 40k. It counts as just a random Xenos. So actually, you can have it as an ally in any army. So you could have some real fun. Like you could have a rogue trader force and have it as their pet. Because why not? And the reason I've got
It doesn't need it on as a pet.
is because it is a creature expansion for Blackstone Fortress, which is a Warhammer Quest solo game, but can also be played multiplayer. Set in the Blackstone Fortress in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Speaking of which, like if
Warhammer Quest.
well, speaking of Warhammer Quest, right? Okay, let's be honest, right? Yeah, you're gonna be watching if you're into your gaming with minis and you're into your Games Workshop stuff. I do not blame you if you might, look at a different channel for a little bit later because GW's doing some more reveals of stuff for Warhammer, of which is Warhammer Quest, the new Warhammer Quest coming out, which is back to the Age of Sigmar setting, to Ulfenkhan. Is it Ulfenkhan?
Something like that. I just called it.
Which is this with this city in the realm of Shaiish, which is the realm of the undead, of death, and it's just vampires, and vampire hunters, and it's just like it already looks badass.
One of the good guys has got he's got a shotgun with an underslung stake launcher. Like it's just weird. It's mental. It's so
the
cool.
Designs are really reminded me a lot of the or at least his design reminds me a lot of the Griffin faction in Confrontation.
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly happy with them doing that because Confrontation is not made anymore. I'm not going to talk about the Kickstarter for it because that was bad. Yeah. Anyway,
So glad I jumped ship on that.
right. But anyway, the point is, it's like this. This Warhammer Quest looks like it's going to be really great. Again, cool miniatures, cool new character types. You could definitely see appearing in Age of Sigmar Soulbound. I'm sure Emmett and the team at Cubicle 7 are already doing something. I'm not saying they are. I'm just presuming if this stuff is coming, they'll have gone, can we have some of that, please?
Especially with the new Soulblight vampire stuff, which looks like it's coming out. So
it'll also be really well timed with the fact, like, on the horizon is Champions of Death, which is another book for Age of Sigmar Soulbound, where you get to play as heroes of the undead.
if you're watching this,
which is going to be really interesting. Yeah,
that's the thing. One of the things, like if you actually read kind of some of the lore and stuff into Age of Sigmar, especially one of the books which I think is kind of sets the scene for Soulbound, is Eight Lamentations. You actually do get vampires helping the kind of forces of order. In the history of Age of Sigmar, Nagash was a friend of Sigmar, but then Nagash went, yeah, no, you're an arsehole and I want everything. But vampires still do. They're evil, but they're not evil. There's bigger evil out there.
that's a classic thing in it was a classic thing in Warhammer and still
Mm.
persists now in Age of Sigmar is that there are definitely those undead characters, undead factions who are undead, but certainly do not want to bow down to Nagash, this apparent Lord of the Dead. Um, the
More
classic
cars.
was always Cetra. Classic was
Yeah.
Cetra. And certain necromancers also were not fans of Nagash. Arkan the Black is not a fan of Nagash,
Yeah, but
though
he
he
doesn't get.
works for him. It's because he's
I'd say he
forced
doesn't
to.
get much choice in that, though, does he?
No, he hasn't got much choice in that. But I'm sure he's doing something behind the scenes because
I assume we're going to find a little bit about that today, actually.
I hope so. Because
Broken
that's the
Realm, Luminous stuff.
because that's the one thing that I would say about Age of Sigmar that's really evolving is the fact that before, when we had the new edition, the new world come out, our factions were quite monolithic,
Mm.
and were lacking flavour in some respects. But that has changed rapidly since Soul Wars. Like Soul Wars, like
Yeah,
knocked it out of
second
the
edition.
park. And seeing where they're going with like Broken Realms and Marathi, and she has done lots of naughty things, which I'm sure we'll get to explore in Soulbound in the near future. Because Anvilgard, well,
Doesn't exist.
yeah, it's there. There's still I mean, there's even witch elves and dark elves which do not bow down to Marathi. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of fun plot there.
split a lot of it because of this, hasn't she, as well? So
Yeah, because I'm sure there's gonna be daughters of Cain who are who actually still believe in Cain and
yeah,
believe Marathi is this usurper goddess. So that's interesting. And I think it's also interesting that Marathi has as allies now.
the Deepkin.
Yeah, that's like super cool. Um, I think that
Evil
gives them
elves.
a lot of flavour, doesn't it? Now.
Yeah, the Deepkin are they're an interesting faction.
Quite
Rules wise, models wise, and kind of fluff wise. Like,
again, they're quite vampiric, aren't they?
sorry.
Quite vampiric.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. They're soul vampires. Basically, they suck the souls out of people.
Yeah, they're Age
Soul
of
vampire
Sigmar's
elves.
Drakari.
Yeah.
Um,
Back supports.
which is why it's going to be incredibly interesting when we finally see Malarian's factions turn up.
Hopefully. And Malarian is going to be. I'm guessing he's probably going to be more of your kind of traditional dark elves, but with this modern take that obviously we're seeing through Age of Sigmar. So your Corsairs and stuff, because there are hints. There are Corsairs around, and there is a Black Ark set off the coast of Anvilgard now.
Yep.
But also we've got Teclis to come, not Teclis, Tyrion.
Tyrion, yeah, I don't know what he's up to. That's a good point. And then the other thing that's interesting, that's if we look at Old World, obviously Old World, we've got another Total War Warhammer coming out. And that's interesting because obviously the reason that now makes a lot of sense why we've seen Kislev designs for the Old World, which is the return to the miniatures game for Warhammer Fantasy Battles. That's going to be a specialist game. So we've seen designs of Kislev then. So there's a lot of synchronicity between what's going on with Total War and specialist games, Forge World as it is. And we're teased that we might see Cathayans, at least in the computer games.
Yeah.
So, and that would be a real first because we have never seen them in miniatures form. We do have a few of their. We do have a few.
There were some Cathayans in the what were they called?
Dogs of War.
Dogs of War. That's the one. Yeah, I think there's a Cathayan unit in that.
Was there? I don't remember it.
Unless
Anyway.
I'm just dreaming. Anyway.
The other thing is that there's a few Cthulhu characters in some of the Warhammer Fantasy roleplay books
Hmm.
from Cubicle 7. Speaking of Cubicle 7, I think they nothing's been announced yet that I know of, but I think they're also gearing up to do get some new books out for Doctor Who, because that's their other IP that they have
Yep.
access to. Um, their books on that, I believe, are quite good. Again, I don't know too well. I just hear good things because I'm not. I'll watch Doctor Who, but I'm not that much of a Doctor Who fan. Let's be honest. I'm a bit
I
more of
find
a
it gets a bit repetitive and samey.
yeah. I mean,
Oh, look, it's Daleks again. Oh, look, it's Cybermen again.
I think it's just got a bit. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it's got a bit tropey in places, but that's just me. I'm a bit groggy in that respect with Doctor Who. I much prefer kind of classic Tom Baker Doctor Who. That was always good stuff. There's not many people watching. I'm sure they'll come back to this one. It's early for. I mean, most. For our American viewers, it is
5 o'clock in the morning or something, isn't it?
6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So good morning if you're just waking up and having breakfast. We are painting toy soldiers. I am painting a Amble, and David, you are painting one of the Gobapalooza.
Yes, they're all named, and I don't know what the names are, but this one I'm kind of
So the
making.
Gobapalooza, they're a unit for Age of Sigmar. They're not from Underworlds.
No, they are an actual unit. It's basically like an Underworld's gang or Warcry
Oh
warband.
yeah, they've got totally. They've got rules in Warcry, haven't they?
Yeah, but it's like 5 very different weird goblins um, who just have so much character behind them. I am going to be using them at some point in a Gits warband for Warcry.
Oh yeah. Oh, I miss playing Warcry.
Yeah, Warcry is the best.
Something I think we
I'm
need
going to do the thing which is probably going to blast everybody's eardrums out, so I'm actually going to mute myself. I'm going to use a
to. As David dries his miniatures, because he doesn't have a hairdryer for his long hair, does he now? But yeah, the other thing I was thinking, David, that when you've is at some point we should really try out playing the Warhammer Underworlds online computer game, because it's pretty much a direct port, I believe, of the actual miniatures board game. Yeah. Speaking of miniatures board game, I'm eagerly anticipating when finally the next wave of expansions turn up for Kingdom Death. Though, how Brexit affects that being imported, I have no idea, because this wave will include the Gambler's Chest, which turned out to be like this really cheap kind of random thing you thought, and turned into basically an entire game on top of the core game. So
Yeah,
it's
I'm so
insanity.
excited about that.
A lot of cool miniatures. The gambler himself looks incredible. So it's this figure that's carrying this sphere of bodies. That's going to be a challenge to paint.
I've still got so much Kingdom Death to paint.
I need to get back into playing it. I've painted everything, but some, it's mainly just survivors from the multi-part kits. There's a point where you get a bit sick of the multi-part kits because the poses you can get aren't quite as fun as, say, the single monopose. Right, okay, that's that bit done. So you should be able to see there that he is blue and blue. So I am going to now go over bits with Wraithbone to prepare it so I can do his mandibles, his claws, and these little nodule bits, his hive, where he stores his young, and yeah, they're funny, interesting creatures. They eat energy. They're attracted to energy, so they absorb it, and they can also eat plasma. Um, so they can actually eat energized gas, which is completely nuts, and burrow through the hulls of ships. So they're a terrifying prospect in Warhammer.
Yeah. Um,
Did
yeah. So
we? Yep. I'm just gonna say we are. I'm just gonna do a retweet of something that we are still painting for the next 25 minutes. Wow, time flies when you start painting miniatures, doesn't it?
oh God, it does. Like I sometimes think I'm a fast painter, then I look up and realize what time it is, and I'm like, oh, I've just spent 3 hours doing one thing.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, this is turned. It's kind of like a bit of a coffee morning paint session rather than a anything detailed. So, which is quite nice. One thing I always like to tell people while we paint with painting is brush sizes are important, and not in the way that most people think. Um, so I have, you can, don't know if you can see, I've got like four. I've got four brushes here. These are the four that I use most of the time, and it's actually only two sizes of brushes. I've got size one, which I'm using at the moment because I'm using on a smaller model, and then I have a size two. So I use quite large brushes when I use them on everything from small models up to kind of my big models. The trick with using brushes is not the size of the brush, but the quality of the point on the brush. If you can keep a good point on the brush, you can paint whatever size you like. And so it's like you don't need to go minuscule to do minuscule detail. Um, in fact, I've tried some like 000 brushes before. They hold the paint really weirdly, and they kind of blob and glob, I find. So this is just my personal preference. Bigger is better in this case.
Hmm. Sorry, I'm just needing to move that edit. I
And
got
so,
my time wrong on something. 12:45.
yeah,
6:15. That should be six
what's that connected?
five.
And then you get points where you look at a model and you go, what the hell's going on here? I have no idea what's going on there. Oh well. So those people watching, what are kind of you looking forward to over this week? If anybody's actually listening to us, not over the week, over the weekend. See, we've got four people watching. I think one of them's me, to be fair, but I've just noticed carrying comfort story people are up playing Vampire the Masquerade as well. So right. There's more blue. It's very blue. What blue is that, Chris?
Sorry. Hold on. It's Cantal blue. It looks
Okay.
brighter on camera than it actually is. Um,
It looks very ultramarine.
uh, yeah, I think ultramarine blue's mostly a bit brighter than that.
Yeah. Just on camera, it's kind of got that feel to it.
Right. Yeah. So yeah.
Also,
Sorry, I messed up a meeting organisation. So it's like no, the meeting is still at the Zoom meeting is still at 7 EST or 12 noon. But for some reason, I set the Zoom meeting to be like in 5 minutes time. And like thinking, what the hell maths was I doing for that? I was thinking I was
it's
like
the
wanting
time
it to
zone
start
things, isn't it?
15 minutes before, and I set it to be 15 minutes. Like I don't know. I'm just a pain in the ass like that. I just messed up that. So annoying.
Oops.
I should have noticed. Um, so
It's so easy to mess up Zoom meetings.
it's just time zones, man. Time zones. What are those about?
No idea. Time has no meaning in this current state, I've decided. So,
Yeah. So there's Pugmire on this afternoon. I think Eddie Webb is basically doing a first kind of like preview of. I think it's got something to do with mice because it's got Squeak in the title. Yeah.
maybe the Rat Men are coming.
Yeah.
Have you heard of what Nick's doing with Alien?
He's doing it set in a historical setting,
No,
right?
he's basically, from what I can gather, it looks like he's doing Jurassic Park Alien.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just as a weird take on things.
That's interesting. Uh,
Yeah.
um,
So if you want to see aliens in 65 million years ago beating up dinosaurs, that's the last game being played, I think, for the weekend.
so the reason for using a wet palette is simply, as we said, it keeps the paint moist. I think it helps dilution of the paint naturally because it is absorbing the water through uh, the paper
paper.
without obviously the paint going through the paper and tainting the water. It's a good surface then on which to blend colours together and to mix them and essentially do clever things if you are going to do clever painting, which I am not on this model. I am doing this as lazy as possible. And there is nothing wrong with being lazy on your painting. Any trick that gets a good effect is perfectly fine. Like, it's not
Paint,
really a,
paint, paint how you want to paint.
yeah.
Uh,
Just, the only things I'll say is don't damage your brushes. Wash them out. Don't get the paint above the ferrule where the bristles meet the ferrule, because that means it's going to get into the base of the brush and is a pain. Maybe
don't
invest
store
in a
like
bit.
I've done here. Don't store your paintbrushes upright. You meant to kind of leave them flat or hold them down. But I don't know why.
Also invest in some brush soap. That's always good stuff to have. And and I'm personally of the opinion that I prefer. I've still not found. I've never had any good experiences with synthetic brushes.
Weirdly, I think is this one. This is semi-synthetic, and it's probably one of the best brushes I use. I've got some Kolinsky Sable brushes sat around that I've not yet used. That's because they're like £10 a brush.
Yeah, I've got a Winsor Newton
Series 7.
Series 7 size 1, which is fantastic. The brush, the much stubbier because it's designed specifically for miniatures, that one. So it's pretty good. If you want to get a really easy set of paintbrushes on Amazon, you're in the EU, UK. Da Vinci do a set of watercolor brushes which are perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, talking Da Vinci and the paintbrushes I'm actually showing. So Squid Mild brushes, they're Kolinsky Sable. They're made by Da Vinci.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. So
Interesting.
I'm expecting good things out of these brushes then. It's just I need to use, I've got a specific model I'm going to use them on. I don't want to use them on like a gaming piece. I'm going to use it on one of my display models that I've got. So, but yeah, most I've got a load of synthetic brushes, and they all, after one use, they just turn into crap. So these get used for oil washes, which I was going to do today, but the model's not finished enough to do some oil washing. It's also too early in the morning to be using white spirits.
Yeah, right.
I thought I'd brought non stinky stuff, whatever it's called, odorless white spirits, but yeah, no, I didn't. Dumb me there, absolutely reeks. What colour shall I do the pots? It's got pots of things, and I don't know what colour to do them. They look like plants. I don't know. Let's just highlight them up first. Let's do this grisaille thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else interesting miniatures wise is out. So I'm also just tracking all my notifications on various social media and emails.
There's a lot of really cool kind of 3D printing stuff coming out recently, but that obviously involves 3D printing and money.
Involves owning a 3D printer.
I was having this conversation with a friend of mine who actually owns a couple of 3D printers, and I have a habit of kit bashing a lot of my models. It's very, very rare that I actually paint a model straight out of a box. And he said it's probably cheaper for me to buy a 3D printer than it is to kit bash 6 models.
Now that I could agree with,
Especially with some of the kit bashes that I do, yeah. Especially with like the kind of the price nowadays of 3D printers for a good one is really good. You can pick up a setup for about 3D printer, Cura, and some resin and stuff for about 300 quid, and it's usually quite good. But
I'd mostly use it for terrain more than anything.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, you want the resolution to be good for miniatures.
Yeah, and if you're not used to it and you kind of mess it up once, you can fail. The printings do fail still.
Yeah, because you've also got a lot of setup to get the so it doesn't get jammed with clogged and stuff. Though also you've got like various different forms now, because you've got the ones which are like do the feed of plastic that comes out, molten plastic feed. But then you've also got the ones which are like the ones which use that raise out of the resin, and they're using like light to react and stiffen the plastic, the resin. I mean, it certainly is. It's very interesting, and I mean, this is why. I mean, still for someone like Games Workshop or other companies, it's like, the balance is like you're gonna have to find the STL files. You're gonna have to maybe, or whichever file type, prepare them to be used on your printer. Do all the support struts and stuff like that. Yada yada yada. Once you print it, the cleanup. Is it going to be good enough resolution? And once you account for that amount of time and effort, are you just better off just buying something that's made ready to be bought and put together?
It's the hobby within itself.
It's
3D.
the hobby within itself, because then you've got something you can make various things with if you're not just into miniatures, because then you can make replacement component parts for pretty much anything. That is very true. So yeah, it's kind of a swings and roundabouts kind of situation, really. It's what are you going to are you going to get the most out of it for the price? Um,
What's your goal for owning it? Why are you owning it? Are you owning it because you want to do it for the hobby, or other reasons?
yeah. Okay, how we doing? We got like 10 minutes left,
Yeah,
and I need to then make a coffee and sort myself out because
you're on with Andy Chambers.
yeah. Oh, oh,
Like it's not like anybody's watching this at the moment, so
no.
let's paint you that. Just got a load of emails about my game later today, so I need to do that, organise that stuff. I was meant to be running some offline games, Chronicles of Darkness and Vesson, but life happened, so didn't do those. But I'll try and do them at some point somewhere for people, because Vesson is amazing. Nice Nordic folk horror.
Right, let's do a little bit more lazy work on this while we await to wait for the next stream. So basically, I'm just gonna slap on here classic, good old classic skeleton horde as a start, and then to darken it, I'm mostly gonna use
Colours that I'm using.
bit of snakebite leather at the tips. Yeah, that'll look good.
I'm going to be. I've got a wild staff. I've got some wildwood contrast here.
Oh, that's a brilliant paint.
So even though I'm kind of trying to do a little bit more kind of detail work than Chris is doing, I'm still using contrast because they do. You can use them as shades and washes and things.
They do fantastic things over metallics.
Oh God, yeah. What is it? The Warcry. A lot of the Warcry war bands. The first one, the Iron Golems. That is, I think it's that the Flesh Terror one. Yeah,
I
Flesh
think I
Terror.
just did them in bulk gun metal with like, or equivalent with like, Blood Angels red contrast over the top.
I think that's what they did for the actual box art.
Yeah.
So they're a trick. They're good for certain things. There's a lot of controversy out there. Some people love them, some people hate them, but it's another tool in your box. So
yeah, I think it's just because like some people like having the typical process of like, you know, you do your base, you do your shade, you do your highlight, you do your layer, and it's like, and then you've got all these other techniques to do it where you're like, I don't know, you're wet blending or
blending, stippling, dry brushing.
But the thing is, it doesn't matter because, you know, who gives a stuff? If it means people actually have painted armies on the table, I do not give a rat's ass about it.
Yeah. It's your model. Paint it how you want to paint it. Yeah. So,
and you know what? You're like we taught painting in Games Workshop stores, for Christ's sake, right?
Yeah, we worked there. We did the hard time.
And that was back when that was back with the bullet
casing hexagon pots, wasn't it?
I hate those things.
Like
good riddance to them.
I've got some PP, like P3 paints here.
Oh, the
colours of the contrast are really, really good, but the pots are horrible because they've got these really stupid lids that break off.
Well, that's because those pots are the old style, very old style pots that GW had in the original days.
Do you know why they exist now? The company that does them is Cote d'Arms. They effectively are.
No, they're not. The company's not Cote d'Arms. That's their brand. It's HMG. It's HMG Paints, and they're based in Manchester.
Yeah, but Cote d'Arms is effectively the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're cool. Vallejo paints are also great.
Yeah, I've got Vallejo Scale 75 here.
Oh, Scale 75, really nice matte coloured paints. They're brilliant for certain things. Definitely, inks are really nice.
The intensity range is just like so. I very nearly used some of the intensities just now, but
So
they've just
yeah.
their own version of contrast as well. I've yet to try it. I've seen some videos, and I don't.
Oh, that alchemy range, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's what they're called. But I think contrast, by the look of it, are better.
Yeah.
Which I'm surprised about because Scale 75 do like to kind of produce really high quality stuff.
Hmm. Right. We're coming up to 5 minutes left. I think we can leave it there then. Yes. Hope you enjoyed watching us paint. I know we don't have many people on stream because it's early in the morning. I mean, it's early in the UK time anyway. But obviously, if you're watching this later, thank you for watching. Maybe you enjoyed our banter about RPGs, our favourite ones. And yes, please stay tuned for more upcoming content on this channel, on Gehenna Gaming, on Current Comfort Studios. There are actual plays, there are panels, there are workshops. You can still sign up for workshops. You can still sign up possibly for games that are running today if there are still seats left. And of course, please donate to via the Tiltify link to the Virtual HorrorCon 2021. That is going to the Black Girls Code, and also donate directly to the Blind Cat Rescue. If you want more content like this or similar, you can of course head over to Dark Days Radio. We are one of the team for Virtual HorrorCon this year, and you can find plenty of episodes about Warhammer on our Darkhammer episodes. You can then also find pictures on our Instagram of painted toy soldiers and stuff like that. Likewise on David's own personal one on Rising Sun Studio.
Studios.
Yeah, Painting Studios. Um, that's pretty much it. So I think we will say adieu for now. I hope you enjoyed watching us paint, and that we got something done. Got something done. I mean, he's
Started.
pretty much tabletop ready at this stage. I mean, for someone getting into painting, I would be more than happy if someone got to that stage,
Yeah.
and slapped him on the table. It just shows that it doesn't have to be as difficult you think. Or as neat to begin with. It all comes together at the last step.
Yeah.
Uh,
Start off scrappy, end up neat.
but that is it, and so we will say goodbye for now.
Bye.